Hello there, a very warm welcome to you. My name is Nick, we're on the ZX Spectrum, this is channel njenkin, and we're looking at past games reviewed on the channel through 651 right through to 700, so we've reviewed quite a lot. So let's have a look, starting now. Hooray! And we start with Psycho Soldier, a very green horizontal scroller. It scrolls very slowly and it's the sequel to Athena. I wasn't overly keen with this particular game, but there's a bit of charm there if you can get used to it. It's all a little bit slow for me, a bit lackadaisical. You can plant bombs to get through certain bits of scenery. It's on 3 levels as you go across, and eventually there's end of level bosses each time. Some people would have got a bit of fun out of this, but it wasn't really for me, but an okay game I suppose. For the name Psycho Soldier, I wanted something a bit more exciting. TOOFY'S Nutty Nightmare is a homebrew and a real nice game this, and with nice sound effects there. Toofy, a rabbit or whatever you might be, some sort of mutant, must collect about 10 or 11 nuts, I think it's 10, and go through to the next level. Feels really nice. It's got a game that come before this called Toofy's Winter Nuts that hopefully will come to at some point in the future, if we haven't already come to it at the time that of the recording, or when you actually get to it. Hooray! But yeah, nice and calm in this game, good use of colour. CG's Elephant Antics is a game that also come out on the Commodore Amiga. Now the scrolling on this tries to keep the elephant more or less to the centre of the screen or in the same sort of place. It does my eyes in a little bit and it doesn't control particularly well, but it is good level design I suppose. I prefer a little flick screen that's on, or the flip screen of Jet Set Willy there as you go round. But it's an elephant, there's not too many of those, and you can destroy enemies by firing buns out of your trunk. Yes, that's the way to go. Street Hassle, this game is absolutely crazy. Why the hell does it exist? But you control a man that walks down the street in his underpants who must fight various dogs and old folk, which look a little bit like Andy Warhol or older versions of Mary Poppins. It's a bit humorous, but a bit funny, but also a bit annoying. I wouldn't have liked to play this back in the day, but I see it from a comedy point of view nowadays. When I reviewed it, I did put a poke on so I get a bit of distance, but the Amiga version is even worse. Vampire Vengeance, a great homebrew made with AGD, which is the arcade game designer, which a lot of games have been. Great sound in this, and it's a really novel approach. You control a vampire, and by using clever timing, you must eat or devour every enemy on the stage and then get to the red coffin at the end, and this particular screen is in the top right. But a real nice idea. You need a little bit of skill there as I devour that fellow. Get stabbed by a sword and you're dead, and every time you fly you can turn into a bat. CJ in the USA is the sequel to CJ's Elephant Antics. This version has got music in it because I played the 128k version, but pretty much in this extension of the first game. It doesn't offer too much different, so if you like the first one you'd like the second one. If you're looking for something completely different, you would have felt a little bit ripped off. But you know, it's more or less the same thing, different enemies, but there is a big sense of familiarity about it. It's okay, didn't blow my socks off. I prefer things like, well, Jet Set Willy, as we know. Garfield, big fat hairy deal. Black and white, this a bit like the comic book. Garfield must do a number of tasks. It runs on a, well, almost identical engine to Snoopy, which you looked at previous quite some time ago. I've been told there's 2 other Garfield games. It'd be nice and interesting to see what they're like. You do get followed by Odie the dog. There's Johnny Arbuckle, he's owner, but they're not much use at all as you try and solve everything. Good luck with that. It's a bit beyond me. The Perils of Willy, based around the Jet Set Willy engine, so I was going to be a fan of this anyway. It's by Alan Turnvey, this one. A real nice game. It came out on the VIC-20 first of all, so this is sort of like a conversion of that one. The music is unique, but you know, it's Jet Set Willy, well, Manic Miner really. Collect all the items and you don't have to go through a flashing square or anything. As soon as you got the last one, you're there. A good selection of levels. It's very inventive and it's different enemies that you don't see on Jet Set Willy or Manic Miner. Solomon's Key, a lot of people absolutely loved this one. It was a little bit lost on me, probably because I got a bit frustrated, but graphically it's nice. I can see why a lot of people liked it. It's good to play the occasional puzzle game. You control this wizard type creature and arrange in these blocks by going left or down. You can arrange a staircase to collect all the items, then get to that archway up the top and avoid hitting all of the enemies. And that's pretty much it. It's an addictive game, as I say, for people into this sort of thing. Hooray! STARBIKE, another one of those ones of an era influenced by a jetpack and Defender, I suppose. You're skidding around different aliens. You must collect these yellow alien heads and take them back to the teleport or your ship to get them off the world. If I played this back in the day as a kid, I would have been a little bemused what to do, but I would have played it every now and again because it's got that nice retro feel about it. But there's something a little bit lacking for me. The game could have offered maybe a bit more, but it's okay. BLOCKZ or BLOCKZ, another clever homebrew. It's a puzzle game where you must delete all the blocks by sending them crashing around the place. The arrows tell you where the blocks will be sent to, but you've got to do this in the right order. As soon as two blocks hit each other, they will disappear, and the idea is once you've used all the blocks, you're not left with any left over, and then that's that. So do I do it on this time? Yes, I do, because that block's going to go up and then to the left, and everything disappears and off to the next level. But it takes a bit of thinking on this, but you can jump to different levels. Now, 911TS is it's a sort of racing game, but it's not as good as Spy Hunter, which looks like it's trying to be graphically. Avoid all the objects. Beats your opponent there, who drives a yellow car, but he's quite easy to beat earlier on. See the map down the bottom. It's okay, this game, but it's a little bit frustrating later on, and I think again it's lacking a little bit more graphically. I would go for Spy Hunter, which looks quite similar to GULP, an early Pac-Man clone, as a lot of games were. What I like about this game, of course, although it's got the basics of it, you've got different colours for different mazes. You go around collecting apples or peaches, and you've got sort of like a limited amount of shots or lasers, which you can take out the enemy ghosts. They're not quite ghosts, they remind me of things out, those 8 enemies out of Terrorhawks. But yeah, a nice game of an era. Hasn't aged particularly well, but I like it nonetheless. Hooray for GULP. Go, go. WUDANG. Now, this is a homebrew, and it's really, really good. Believe it or not, this was made, written in BASIC. Yes, how the hell did they do that for a part of a competition? And I think it well-deserved won the competition. You control this, like, samurai guy who must go around collecting keys, opening doors, and I think in the end rescue some princess somewhere. But there's a few mini-games hidden within this as well. Graphics are gorgeous. There's sort of like a breakout clone in there as well. And, you know, this game is special. There's a bit of content in there to get through. Scooby-Doo, some people like this game. I hate it because it's too frustrating. I had to play it with a poke on it. But Scooby-Doo, the Hanna-Barbera cartoon game, as soon as you touch into anything, you're dead. But essentially all the members of the gang and the mystery machine have been kidnapped by some evil scientists to have experiments done on them, and you must go through each level to rescue one by one. Yes, Scooby keeps dying when I'm playing this. He certainly needs a few Scooby snacks, but you need to be really good to get the better of this. Final Fight, converted from the arcades. The ZX Spectrum is really attempting too much here, although it is on the 128K Spectrum. And because the background is so busy, it can go up and down, it really suffers in the speed of the thing, and so it becomes unplayable. From the screenshots, it looked absolutely marvellous. If you could speed it up a bit through emulation, you might get a bit of fun there, but I found it a frustrating thing to play with lots of better alternatives than this thing, but it certainly looks good, plays awful. This game doesn't play awful. It's Bonnie and Clyde, a lovely homebrew there. Bonnie and Clyde based on those gangsters, but for some reason they've been turned into cats here. You must collect all the coins, and then dynamite will come down the screen. Put the dynamite on the safe blows up. You lose a life, you lose a fedora. That's pretty good for gangster territory. As soon as you've blown up the safe, a ladder will descend up to Clyde, or Bonnie I should say, and then that's the end of the level. Time's ticking down the whole time in the top middle, you can see on that blue one. Prince of Persia, a fantastic game I never knew come out on the ZX Spectrum. This is a homebrew of sorts by a Russian outfit, I believe, but the animation on this is absolutely fantastic. I was more used to Prince of Persia on the Commodore Amiga, but what they've done here is absolutely outstanding. It's one of those games where you scratch your head a bit and think, how the hell did they manage to do this on the humble ZX Spectrum? Each level you have to solve by getting the switches, jumping over spikes, and then to inevitably rescue the princess. Panama Joe, known as Montezuma's Revenge on the Atari 2600 and the Commodore 64. I don't know why it's called Panama Joe on the ZX Spectrum. And having played the other versions, this version, although it's nice to see, it's the worst version of the three, so maybe they wanted to distance themselves. We're supposed to be in some kind of Aztec temple, but there's a lot of brickwork about that looks like it's been made in Great Britain. but collect keys to open certain doors. It's an exploration game, and I think as a kid back in the day, I would have played it as such. Dungeons of GOMILANDIA. We played a lot of great homebrews in this 50, but you must arrange blocks against the time so you can reach a key on one side of the screen, or wherever they decide to put it, and then get to the doorway on the other side. So here I am, looking a bit like the bear from Children in Need, to try and get high enough to get that key. You can pick up any block from any place, but you can only go up one block at a time, and there we go. So I've jumped there, the door's open, away we go. The Great Escape. Now, to get the best out of this game, you really need to put the time into it, and admittedly when I reviewed it, it was my first go, so I didn't get the best out of it. But you are in a prisoner of war camp, and you must escape essentially by collecting items, grabbing safes, secret tunnels, and all that sort of thing. If you play it just like I did every now and again, dropping in, you're never going to get anywhere, so you do need to maybe read a few guides. But an epic game back in the day, but I've never really, as I say, got the best out of it. BMX Ninja. BMX boys have a lot of fun. They might not have it in this game. There's loadable sceneries there you can have in the background, but the game always remains the same. You're on your BMX, and you must well, impress your girlfriend by attacking or wiping out another BMX gang by spinning your bike and hitting them with your back wheel. It's pretty pointless, folks. It's good animation, it's good to see, but as a game you think, why? How's this ever been made? It certainly wouldn't happen nowadays. Don't expect an HD release. Mighty Final Fight, brilliant game. Now this is what Final Fight should have been. They scaled down the characters really small, and you know, and the gameplay's got really fast. A bit of cartoony character, they got special moves, fantastic music, and you say, doesn't really compare too much with Final Fight. The playability is here, and you get a real sense of fun in this one, and that you can actually complete it. But do learn the special moves, you've got a choice of characters there, and it's a good super game, Mighty Final Fight. Yogi Bear, okay boo-boo. This is a bit lackluster, this one. Yogi Bear in Yellowstone Park. You must just wander from one side to the other and rescue Boo Boo, and you think, why is he actually bothering? Boo Boo can maybe fight for himself. Okay, Yogi. I mean, Boo Boo was the most depressing character ever, if you don't count Droopy from the Droopy cartoon. But anyway, Ranger Smith will make an occasional appearance, and you can go shortcuts through caves and stuff, but yeah, very boring game. HAWKSTORM, really good graphically. Again, it's one of those ones where you're going to struggle to get any sort of like real distance on this, but you have to rescue someone, probably, and you've got a limited amount of shots to do it. But look at all the shading on this, an absolutely brilliant graphically game, if not playability's average, but it's got a few flaws in there that hold it up. See, look, I'm not actually standing on the floor there. There always seems to be a gap between these feet. But no doubt, a lot of people would have loved this one. It looks jolly super from the screenshots. You couldn't be disappointed. The Lost Treasures of TULUM, another clever homebrew. You only see parts of the screen when you get up to them, which is good. There's a torch you can pick up and throw to reveal bits of the screen. But another one of those games when you take away all the glamour, where you collect all the objects, then get out the red door at the end. You can see the red door, and you can see us collecting the objects. But a real nice game with a nice soundtrack to boot. I think I got to about level 5 or 6. It's quite good for the newbie player. Looks good, plays good, and got a lot of nice touches to it as well. Scooby and Scrappy Doo, a lot better than the Scooby-Doo game. I'm not a fan of Scrappy Doo as a cartoon character, but this is a fairly decent, hate to admit it, but this is a fairly decent platformer. Collision detection's good. It's monochrome, but I'll let that go. Game also came out on the Commodore Amiga, but it looks completely different on that one, despite that being a platformer as well. So check out the review of Scooby and Scrappy Doo on the Amiga. Yeah, but this is quite nice, so don't be afraid by the Scrappy Doo character. Track this game down and give it a play. Commando 2, influenced by the original Commando, of course. You can see the very similar engine, and we must rescue people every now and again connected to those trees, and they might give us a flamethrower for our good work. But yeah, if you like Commando, you like this. One complaint is I think the background is a little bit busy. They should just made it plain yellow like Commando was, and then it would have been absolute genius. It's a homebrew of such, made by, I think it's a Russian outfit again. A good game, and we're playing it for a recommendation. PARSEC, this was converted from, I think, a VIC-20 game. There's 3 different speeds the ship could go. But you must destroy different waves of aliens, and then a sort of like mothership or guardian at the end. Get to a certain distance, and then the ground there will change from yellow, I think, to either cyan or green, and it rotates round. So you get the feeling that you're getting somewhere. It's all about timing this. If you miss the aliens, and they come down in this sort of like, well, channel below. It makes it a little bit more difficult. Nifty Lifty, an absolutely super classic game. It doesn't come much more basic than this, but control Lifty, running from one side of the screen to the other to collect all the objects and then get to the lift to get to the next screen. Now, the lift gets a bit more complicated from screen to screen, and before you know it, it's got absolutely crazy. Bump into the lift, and you will lose a life. Lose all your lives, then you will die. So it's got one of those one more go sort of like feels to it. It will drag you in, keep going. It's pleasure and frustration in equal measure. Angle Ball, an unusual snooker game or pool game, but I'm glad they went in this direction and given it a hexagon table rather than keep copy everyone else. Ball physics are okay, but sometimes I tend to miss what seems an obvious angle. You select the power of the cue, how much spin you want to do. You don't need to chalk the cue here, and you're versus an opponent as well. I couldn't quite work out what the scoring was like, but I had a bit of fun with it nonetheless, but I wouldn't have played it too much back in the day. Jetpack Jock, I hated this game when I first played it, a great homebrew, but I liked it more and more I play, so you've got to give it a bit of time, just don't dismiss it straight away. It looks nice, there's a bit of inertia with the central character there, Jetpack Jock. Collect all the items and it buzzes on to the next screen. Influenced by Jetpack, I think, but it's a lot more advanced than this. Some absolutely gorgeous aliens around the place, and, you know, absolute fantastic job here by Gaz Marshall, this game. A real good one. Really recommend tracking this one down. Volcano, back into the early 80s, and I think this game is slightly forward. You must go through a maze to try and escape the island before the volcanic eruption takes over everything. Occasionally you will see the lava spilling out onto the map, cutting off certain routes, and there's red dots as well, which also cut off routes. It's quite easy to get lost quite quickly, and I don't think too many people would have had, or kids I should say, would have had the competence to complete this, or the stamina to even want to. But it's good that it's got nice names for each map. Bumpy, a really interesting game, also come out on the Commodore Amiga. You control this bouncing character, picking up different upgrades and finding the different route around the whole of the stage to get to the exit at the end. That bit of water puts out fire, watch him drop that, boom. Get that object, get the key, and there we go, and on to the next stage. It gets more and more difficult as you go through, plenty of stages to keep you going. I thought this was a really novel game and worth tracking down. SPECCY Pong, well, it's just a plain remake of Pong really on the ZX Spectrum. This is a modern day homebrew, although it's a very, very basic game. Controls well. What I like as well, when you get a bit bored of the colour scheme, you can change the colours to, well, whatever the Spectrum has to offer. It is addictive with that square ball and all, but it is Pong. Don't expect anything super sensational out of this world. It's Pong, but good to see it on the Spectrum nonetheless, because I don't think there was an official release of Pong back in the day. Donkey Kong, an absolutely massive one from the arcades, come out on a number of different systems. I think originally played it on the Atari 2600. Good to see on the Spectrum. There's another one called Pong as well. I think Ocean released 2 versions of Donkey Kong, so this might not be absolutely exactly the same as your memories of it, but you know, it's over 4 stages. The Atari version only had 2, the arcade had 4 stages. Get to the top and rescue that screaming woman at the top. It's Mario, or is it Jumpman? Well, it's one of the two. Ed the Duck, hate this game. The character I wasn't overly keen on back in the day, so it was already struggling with me to try and win me over. But it's very floaty. It's a bit like a failed Rainbow Islands clone. Do look at the review of Rainbow Islands if you haven't already to get a comparison. So when you put this alongside Rainbow Islands, it's inferior by a big, big way. Animation isn't particularly smooth. I hate the way that the enemy doesn't die when you hit them with whatever it is you're firing at them. They just pause for a short while. Terrible game. MAGICABLE, they've gone their own way with this homebrew. You can only jump when you're on one of these purple things, which is interesting, but it makes it a little bit harder to play, so you need to put in the time. I get a bit frustrated when I can't jump any time I want, because that's intuitive that I want to do, but that just adds an extra puzzle element to it, and that's my problem, not the authors. The enemies are well thought out, the level is really well designed. Sound is good too, you get plenty of lives to help you out, and the gameplay is fair. Hyper Sports over a number of different sports. It's one of those joystick wagglers. This one is the shooting, which is one of my favourite events, but other events are the vaulting and weightlifting and numerous others. Real good fun, Hyper Sports. I played it on the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64. Don't think it got any 16-bit release, but real good fun. Difference from this and Decathlon is if you fail one event, you can't go any further, so there is an increased sense of jeopardy. So the further you get, the better you would feel. The Pyramid, this is a basic shooter, but it's pretty good. Shoot all the enemies there to get off the level. Now you'll see those portals at the bottom. Collect a blue crystal, drop the diamond on the portal. I think you need about 2 or 3 on each level. You'd gradually need more and more, and then you descend gradually to a different room in the pyramid, and the idea is to head from the top of the pyramid down to the bottom of the pyramid. For more information, have a look at the full review. It's a pretty good game, actually. Coco and the Time Machine, I didn't really get on with this one. I've seen it, it's good again graphically, but I've seen so many games now created with the AGD, the arcade game designer. I'm a little bit spoiled and I'm looking for something a bit different, a bit out of this world. But this time you must collect parsley. And you know, if I'd seen this one first, I would have said it was brilliant. I've just seen a lot of games that are very similar from that machine. But it's good. It's good graphics, good backgrounds. You know, so I can't really fault it there, but I get sort of like a sense that I've seen a lot of this sort of play before. Miami Chase, it's a top-down game. No, it's not Grand Theft Auto on the ZX Spectrum. It's something completely different. You must drive around in your cop car, taking out all the enemy who drive their red cars, and once you've done that, the main boss will turn up in his yellow Corvette. At least he will on stage 1. So the idea is to get the mayor elected in the next election, you must rid the town of bad guys. You're a policeman, and you can be in anonymity for 48 hours, where you can actually rough up pedestrians as well. Yes, good luck on that. Lunar Attack, it's a scramble clone. Very, very flickery, this version. I prefer either Cavern Attack or Penetrator. This one's, you know, it's got a good map down the left-hand side. You can see it's scrolling, but you do have to blink quite a lot in this game, or need some maybe dark glasses. But fun to see nonetheless, as a lot of these games are. By Ksoft, Lunar Attack. So Scramble fans that want something on the 8-bit there, well, this is one of the options. But as I say, go for Cavern Fighter or Penetrator first. Real interesting game, this one. Reverse Pong, it's a homebrew. You don't control the bats, you control the ball. So going up or down, you're controlling what direction the ball goes in. And if you don't hit the bat on the other side, you will die. And you must collect all the yellow objects to boot. And once you've done that, you go on to the next stage. And then, as you'd expect, it gets gradually more and more difficult. Again, pleasure and frustration in equal measure. There'll be some levels you just can't do for ages till you have that great moment. Hero by Activision, one of these games I only thought come out on the Atari 2600 for a long while, but it's good to see it on the Spectrum as well. It's a really good effort to recreate the Atari 2600 version. Sounds get closer than you would expect, and the levels are identical. It's a really fun game. A lot of people might not have known about Hero back in the day. It's called Helicopter Escape Rescue Operation, I think, and you must rescue all the miners that got trapped down here over different stages. Fantastic little game. World Class Leaderboard, I think I prefer the golf game leaderboard beforehand. Although the mechanics are the same, they've tried to spruce this up a little bit, giving you a number of courses. But there's a dull beeping noise or buzzing noise as you take the tee at the start of each shot, which I found a little bit annoying. But it draws the course well, and for 8-bit you can't argue too much what the Spectrum was capable of. So if I had World Class Leaderboard back in the day, I wouldn't have been disappointed. It's a good reflection of what golf games should be. This is absolutely awesome. It's a reskin of Bruce Lee there, so they kept the engine exactly the same, so it's a modern day mod or homebrew, but they've redone all the graphics, and I think it makes the game slightly easier to see. Yamo is now in green, like the Commodore 64 version. Before he was just a plain white, and it looks absolutely glorious. The game Bruce Lee was fantastic before, now it looks even better. So if you like Bruce Lee, track this one down and, you know, see it with improved graphics as we fight Ninja. Beam Rider, another one of those Activision games I only knew come out on the Atari 2600, but again here it is on the Spectrum. Aliens have put a series of shields around the Earth, and you must destroy each wave of aliens, about 10 or so, to destroy the shield, then go to the next one. Every so often, at the end of each wave, there'll be an alien mothership that you can attempt to shoot down, and occasionally as well there'll be extra lives that come down the screen, which you can get to extra lives, which makes sense. I end up shooting them in error, so keep your eyes out. River Raid, again Activision from the Atari 2600. This is by far the easiest version of River Raid I've ever played, and the reason why it's so easy is the plane is ridiculously small compared to the terrain. In the other version, the plane was a lot bigger, you didn't have too much room to work with, and that's where the skill was needed in the game. Here you'll be getting quite a lot of stages before it's starting to get a bit tough for you. So if you're finding the River Raids a little bit awkward, then the ZX Spectrum version of that is the one for you. You'll be screaming through with great skills as you try and refuel your plane each time. Jetpack Bob, good to see this one, influenced by a jetpack, but a little bit pointless to a degree, because as soon as you hit an alien you don't die, you just lose a bit of energy, and it's ridiculously easy. So in the end you'll be thinking, please, I want to die. But it's a good seeing all the different rockets. If you thought jetpack was good back in the day but was frustrated you couldn't get anywhere with it, then this is the one to play, Jetpack Bob, because quite literally you'll be playing this for absolutely hours. I do miss not controlling the jetpack, man, though, that is for sure. So I hope you liked having a look at those. That was the ZX Spectrum games 651 through to 700. We'll keep going, reviewing the games more and more and more. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It always helps. So I hope you like seeing these. So onwards and upwards. Until next time, take great care of yourself and a very fond goodbye.
Goodbye.